Hola, estamos aquí en Mundo del Cine, una edición especial en la fiesta del cómic. Estoy aquí con Leo y nuestro invitado especial, Chris Claremonth, la leyenda, un gran escritor que duró 16 años escribiendo para los cómics de X-Men, entre otros títulos para Marvel Comics. Es un honor que él esté aquí con nosotros. Mr. Chris Claremonth, welcome to the show. It's a real honor for us to have you here.
Hola, it's my pleasure.
Oh, thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Well, we're going to start right away.
Okay.
Yeah, my first question is, you spent 16 years writing for the X-Men. How would you describe the process for developing the plots, the character arcs?
Easy one. In 2 or 3 days?
Oh.
Or 20 minutes?
The short version.
For me, it was simply a matter of watching their lives go by inside my head and then describing it to the various artists that I worked with over the years and getting their vision of those descriptions back, which in many cases was even more exciting and more interesting than what I conceived of it in the first place.
We all know the movie industry is really big right now. How do you feel when you see a history you wrote being adapted into film?
I think like any writer, it's very cool to see your own work on screen. Mm-hmm. One of the most exciting moments, I have to confess, of the last 15 years was when the TV series Legion came out on FX this spring, and both Bill Sienkiewicz and I were trading emails because the fourth major credit at the end, where they say written by, directed by, executive producer, and then the fourth credit was created by Chris Claremonth and Bill Sienkiewicz in the same typeface, the same size, everything as the theatrical credits. And we both thought, this is so cool, because it was the first time we had ever seen that credit on any of a Marvel-related property, and that was wonderful. I think with the other X-Men films, some have been very, very good. Some have had room for improvement. On the other hand, in the next 15 months, we are going to be seeing in the spring of 2018 the release of the New Mutants film, which looks...
Looking forward to it. Really forward.
Me too, because it looks like a great cast.
Yes.
Next summer we should have the season 2 of Legion, which will be wonderful.
Yes.
And then in next October, just in time for the serious films going for Oscars, will be the release of Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix.
Directed by written and directed by Simon Kinberg, who has been part of the X-Men film franchise since the very beginning. So I think, at least from my perspective, 2017, 2018 is a banner year.
Yes.
And actually there's also a TV series based on X-Men material that's being produced and directed by Bryan Singer.
Yes.
So that's actually a fourth project that's in the works now.
Excellent for all.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with that.
No, of course not.
Because it's very much fun seeing, for want of a better phrase, my kids brought to life.
Yes.
It's cool.
It is. Well, besides telling great stories while you were writing the X-Men, you did excellent work representing social issues like racism, the mistreatment of minorities. Do you think that current comic books and the movies based on your work continues that legacy?
Well, the irony is with the films, when we originally started talking to Fox about them when Fox started talking to us in 1998, Lauren Schuler Donner was executive producer of the X-Men movies, and they couldn't find a definition of the film that made sense to Fox, a way to sell it that made it different from from Luke Cage or The Punisher or any of the other not so successful films that had preceded it as superheroes.
Blade, I think so.
Blade the Vampire
Yeah.
Slayer. They were kind of okay for B movies, but we had hopes for it being much more. So the film was actually going to go in what we call turnaround, which is like. And so, God help me, I wrote a memo to Fox saying, you have to understand this is what the concept is all about. It's nothing to do with superpowers. It has nothing to do with saving the world. It has
Flashy
to do
costumes.
well. It has to do with a persecuted minority trying to find a way to fit into a society that fears and hates it, even though that minority is sworn to save that society no matter what. Feared and hated by the world they are sworn to protect. And that actually struck a chord with Brian, it struck a chord with Fox. The next thing we knew, the series was greenlit. And again, Fox had minimal faith in superhero concepts in general,
Yeah.
the X-Men in specific, until the opening weekend of the first movie. And suddenly we rolled in with just shy of $100 million in 3 days, which for 2000 was like, holy cow. Oh no, this was serious money. And Fox suddenly thought, oh my goodness, we have a hit on our hands.
This works.
Well, and the joke was, if you look through the cast, in terms of 2000, you had superb actors. You had people that were great to watch on screen, but nobody was really a star. Nobody had a lot of chops. Patrick Stewart was considered to be the
big one, yeah.
the most notable member,
Yes.
the money guy in the film because of his work on
Halle
Star
Berry
Trek.
was new too.
Halle Berry was sort of a B plus mid-list
Yeah, of
actress, but not a star.
Yes.
Ian McKellen was a dean of the Royal Shakespeare Company, but
No.
who cares?
Who cares?
And oh yeah, this guy Hugh Jackman.
This Australian guy.
Well, it's not that. What was he famous for? Playing the lead in Oklahoma. Wow. You know, his opening song was "There's a bright golden haze on the meadow." It's like, and that's Wolverine? So they figured, nah, this will do okay. The irony is, by the time the film actually opened, Halle Berry had won Best Actress for Monsters Ball. Ian McKellen had just signed for this trilogy down in New Zealand that had to do with fantasy and rings and dragons and horses and elves, little people.
Little people, yeah.
You know,
minor, something.
and oh yes, Hugh Jackman was like the hottest thing in the American cliche since sliced bread. And the irony for Fox was they hadn't signed any of them to multi-film contracts. So they had to come back for X-Men 2 and start from scratch. They have since
Move on, of course.
figured this out. But it just goes to show each step with the movies, as with the comic, we were proving ourselves to an audience that had no faith. But the end result was, holy cow, we have something. And I think X-Men as a film helped lay the foundation for the Spider-Man trilogy and then for Iron Man, which changed the game for everybody.
No doubt. That's totally true. Continuing movies, well, how does it feel to be one of the few comic book authors that have been given a cameo in their major films?
Well, I would love to say something pretentious, but I'm about 20.
You can. You're allowed to. You're allowed to.
I'm about 23 films behind Stan.
There's no way you can catch with
And
Stan.
I'm sorry, his last cameo established him as a guardian of the galaxy.
Yeah.
I have one other watcher.
Not to mention well, I think of him as a guardian of forever, but there you go. So I think I have a ways to go before I can claim any sort of status.
Good job. Don't worry.
There's room for improvement.
Yes.
Really cool.
I'm sure there's room in Guardians of the Galaxy for one more.
The irony is I actually helped define Peter Quill's character back in the day, so you know, it would be fun, but they haven't called, so
Oh, you never know.
Time,
You
there's
know,
always
Thanos, watch out,
possibilities.
Chris Claremonth is out for you. You're going to give the last punch in the last movie to Thanos. That's going to be you.
Well, if I ever get an agent for my acting, I'll let you know.
Ese Chris es genial. Oh, están aquí con nosotros. ¿Sabían qué? Chris Claremonth también fungió como asesor para los guiones de X2. Y la próxima gran película de los X-Men será basado en la saga del Fénix Oscuro, que le escribió Chris Claremonth también. Mucho esto y más aquí en Mundo del Cine por Caribbean TV. No se vayan.